We stand here today debating this issue, not at the request of our constituents or the thousands of working families across the state. We're here because politicians beholding the special interest group have promised that so-called right to work would finally become law in 2017. Let's not forget this country was not built by politicians or special interests. This country was built by working men and women, union men and women. They built our homes, our hospitals, our roads, our bridges. They built our pipelines and our factories, our cars and our schools. Union men and women built the Stan Musial Memorial Bridge in St. Louis, adding to that city's iconic skyline. They are the ones building the new $211 million state mental hospital in Fulton, where us politicians will be there to cut the ribbon when it opens. They're the ones that are building the new Boeing 777 components. That project is a $300 million investment in the region that I represent, creating more than 700 good-paying jobs. Politicians may have taken credit when the cameras were rolling, but it'll be the skilled workers who are doing the work and growing the economy by partnering with their good employer, Boeing. These workers are the ones building the best-selling trucks in America in the Clay, Como, and Wentzville plants. We drive our kids to soccer games in them. We use them on our farms. We drive ourselves to good-paying jobs that union membership has preserved for both union and non-union working families. Union workers built the middle class. We as politicians, we go there looking for votes during the election season. Where all the votes are. That's where all the people are. That's where all the middle class is. The middle class that we're trying to lessen in this building. They've built our economy with union investment funds. Just in St. Louis region alone, this has created thousands of housing units and nearly $1 billion in investments with the use of union pension funds. That, folks, is a lot of man hours that pays a fair wage with benefits and good training and good safety measures. It allows workers to retire with dignity and not rely on government assistance to survive. You know the reason they invest in our region? They invest because people come to our region because we have a positive working relationship between labor unions and business interests. We've preserved that over the years without government interference. Let's not forget, union workers built this country. They built this state. When the Great Recession hit, it was union workers and the middle class that made America great again. Folks pushing for this bill forget that Missouri has the hardest working, most highly skilled, and safest workforce in the world. You know, we've said it in this building the other day, that at one time, unions were needed because people were persecuted in their jobs and they had unfair labor practices in the 30s. So what we're telling everybody that holds a union book is, thank you, you did your job so well, but get out of here. We don't need you anymore. I've never been fired for doing a good job. For generations, union workers fought, sometimes died for the rights the rest of the world is still catching up to. The right to a safe and humane workplace, the right to compensation if you're hurt on the job, the right to fair wages, the 40-hour work week, child labor laws, sick pay, health insurance, even the weekend. Those victories lifted the living standards of working families everywhere, union and non-union folks across this state and this country. It's sad. It's a sad and shameful way to treat folks who gave rise to America's middle class, the backbone of the strongest economy in the world. To undermine them by passing this legislation is appalling and unbecoming of this body. So my message to you today is simple. Right to work is wrong for Missouri, and my heart breaks for the working class families of the state that will suffer under its impact through lower wages, fewer jobs, and an irreparable wound upon the fabric of our nation. Of course, I realize that some of this is likely to fall on deaf ears. Some folks seem content with ignoring the facts. Missouri ended 2016 with record employment, that we led the Midwest in manufacturing growth, and that we created more jobs than any of our neighboring states, yes, even the ones with right-to-work laws on the books. On this issue, facts do not seem to matter much because lines have been drawn and sides have been chosen. Any appeal to rational evidence of our policy implications stands small against the millions in dark money that's been spent on this issue. So now, let me speak to you, but not as a senator from the 13th. Let me speak to you as a daughter raised in a working household, a wife, widowed early, a single mom with 3 wonderful spirited daughters, a person who in many ways reflects the very families this law will harm. Growing up, you heard me say earlier, my dad was a milk truck driver. He carried a Teamster's card. He drove trucks for Meadow Gold Dairy and St. Louis beer sales. At night, he tended bar in a tavern. Probably the only guy I knew that was around that much alcohol that came home sober every night. Meanwhile, my mom worked for the state. They were the middle-class working people. Together, they raised 6 kids. I laugh now when my kids think it's hard to raise 2 kids because they're both working, and I wonder how my parents did it with 6. Oh, and by the way, we did it in a little 3-bedroom house with 1 bathroom, and we didn't think much of that. Things are different now, and they seem to think it's harder for them, but, you know, with that said, I watched my mom and dad manage the 6 of us. I'm sure it was difficult, but, you know, we never knew it. They never let on to us that there were hard times. I never knew that they had struggles. And that's how it should be. And that's what unions provide. That's what the middle class provides. They taught me the value of hard work. They taught me through their example how important it is to take care of your family. A lot of folks call those the good old days. I hate to think that I'm that old, but maybe I am. I agree. They were the good old days. A working family, a truck driver, and a state employee, one in a union, one in the public sector, making ends meet, putting a roof over our heads, clothes on our backs, and food on the table. Back then, there were some who wanted to tear that all down and go after working families. In the late 70s, I remember my dad and his friends being worried about something called Amendment 23. It was a ballot initiative that would have made Missouri a right-to-work state. The press was saying it would pass with a margin of 2-1. The thing I remember most about that summer back in 1978 is going door to door and hand-billing with other young people. We weren't union members then. Some of our parents were. We were mostly just young and passionate about not wanting the government to mess with our families. I also remember how surprised I was that there were a lot of non-union people supporting us. Farmers, lawyers, business owners, and down the gamut. At the time, I didn't get it. I was glad they were supporting us, but I didn't get it. I do now. I get it. This isn't just a union issue. This is a pocketbook issue. Right to work hurts the economy. It hurts the middle class families that drive the economy. It hurts all of us. In the end, the people of Missouri saw past the empty promises. They saw right to work for what it really was, and they defeated it 60% to 40%. It was a pretty big, I remember that night. It was huge. It was a huge victory for us. Hanging in my office is a framed front page article from the Labor Tribune showing what happened that night. It's yellow and it's kind of beat up. I think if I took it out of the frame, it would fall apart. It reads, Missouri wins. 4 of my folks that I looked up to over the years, my mentors, were on that page. I believe that that 3 of them are deceased now. Missouri wins. My mom found that paper in the top of my dad's closet when she was cleaning out some things several years after his death, and she gave it to me. I'm sure that if there was anything of value in that closet, to me that was very valuable. It hung in my office in the House to remind me of what is at stake when we talk about right to work. Now it hangs in the Senate, in this office, for the same reason. And I guess now it will just hang there to remind me about the good old days, and that it meant we valued working class and we didn't pass laws that hurt them. To remind me that later, when I was a young widow, it was a union job that allows me to raise my girls with dignity. It reminded me that when an issue like this threatens one group of Missourians, we all come together, union and non-union. Pipe covers and farmers, doctors and carpenters, auto workers and business owners. Everybody together at the ballot box, as it should be. And when we do, Missouri wins. Missouri wins. You know, Mr. President, for me today, Missouri loses, but I am willing to let the will of the body move forward in this chamber. I thank my colleagues for a spirited debate, a healthy debate, and a debate where we can all remain friends in here. Thank you.